Let's do this Blaze TV thing. This is ridiculous. So I've never heard of this guy really, or maybe I have Steve Deace. Blaze TV, wow, they are scraping by the Daily Wire, and I mean, I don't even know. Like the Daily Wire has a monopoly on a lot of the emerging right-wing insanity talent.
I'll just say, like, okay, this guy's got a Punisher sticker on his laptop. So before I put him up, imagine what he looks like. I mean, sorry.
Yeah. So, and not that.
It's the Punisher. These Punisher guys. I'm nerds.
Put him on screen for a second, Matt. This is right-wing Andy Richter.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I pictured in my head. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh God! But he's wearing a shirt that like a drunk lacrosse dad would wear before he gets into a fight. Yeah. I mean, the Punisher logo has basically been a substitute for being like, I love police brutality. That's what it is at this point, right?
Which is funny,
guess, yeah, like, but it's also like
Punisher character is like the complete opposite.
Yeah. But it's also like there's a bit of Arrested Development. Like I'm a big boy.
Oh, you're
like,
a big boy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you listen to Alphabet Boys, the guy who was the informant for the FBI in the Black Lives Matter protests, also obsessed with the Punisher. So that's the kind of guy, someone who feels very small and wants to feel like a big man.
God.
So that's Steve Deace here. Here he is speaking about a meeting that he went to, I guess at a ministry is what he talks about here, where he spoke to somebody who worked in the federal government and they know secrets. And you'll never guess what the secret is.
I mentioned this ministry meeting I was at last Tuesday. And
party time.
An individual spoke who has had close ties to varying degrees with every Republican administration in the White House going back to Reagan.
Boom, boom, boom.
It was Seder.
And over that period of time has developed a lot of ties with national defense, because he comes from an era where the military was actually our constituency.
Not for himself.
Wait, can you pause it for a sec? When the military was our constituency, I really do love that implicit.
And not trying to what?
Now they're woke and trans.
They're woke and trans.
But it's just like, yeah, we get it. You guys are fascists. You like love you want the military on your side for God knows what. But here we go.
Was it which senator recently came out? The one in Alabama. What's his name again? The guy who used to be a coach.
Tuberville.
Yeah.
Tuberville. He came out. Did you hear what yesterday? He came out and said something like, "I miss when we had white nationalists in the military."
A radio host asked him, like, "What do you think about potentially white nationalists being in the ranks of the military?" And he says, "They call them white nationalists. I call them Americans."
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean that's still accurate.
Yeah, I mean,
he went further than that. He went further than that too. There was another quote from that as well. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. But go ahead.
All right, well, you can pull it up, but keep going. And let's just say the military is always going to lean right, just by its very nature. But here we go.
To learning Mandarin. The military that we have now, for example. He comes from an era where the military was actually, those were our plans.
Sorry, pause it, but like, that is kind of an important skill, this language translation.
Why do you want to undercut subterfuge and
understanding, espionage and understanding communications? Like, what are you talking about? That they would be like Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine who learned Russian.
It's the same reason people were learning Russian in the 80s, right? Like, whatever. There was a lot of there's some push to learn Mandarins because there's like it opens you up to economic opportunity when you're in college.
Well, and also the military, it's because they think we might fight a war with China.
Exactly.
So maybe we should know what they're saying.
It's also a very, very old-timey belief that like simply learning the language of another country or culture will somehow indoctrinate you into that's like colonialism in your head. Like, the moment you learn Chinese, you're gonna, suddenly see the light, of, the glorious Xi Jinping.
I mean, one can only hope.
If you learn even a single name of a Chinese food dish, you're already down the path.
Learning Mandarin, the military that we have now, for example. He comes from an era where the military was actually, those were our planes, those were our tanks, not they're getting ready to point them at us. You know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. So that's his generation, boomer generation. And so he still maintains a lot of contacts. Here's what he said to us. That he's told about 70% of the CIA is openly Marxist. 70%.
Oh, wow.
Think about that when you see stories that a Jewish lady and a former... Now, I met his crew. They were great to me. I enjoyed being on their show. But, you know...
He's talking about libs of TikTok and Tim Pool right now.
Okay. I thought he was going to go somewhere different. Like he was going to, go a negative place, but he's going to go a different negative place.
I mean, it's a little weird just to... Okay.
So the CIA... Okay.
Well, I don't know what she has to do with this.
Now, I met his crew. They were great to me. I enjoyed being on their show. But, you know...
That's Steve Deace.
I wouldn't call Tim Pool a fence sitter. I think that's going too far.
No,
we would.
He's not like... He's kind of a recovering Occupy Wall Streeter. I mean, he's, I think, still discovering what his...
Just pause it real briefly. He calls himself that because it's part of his branding. And I would just recommend, again, for anyone who hasn't watched it, Timba on Toast, Tim Pool Milk Toast Fence Sitter YouTube video.
Okay, so this is a response to the Texas shooter. That's what it's being discussed.
So he's alluding basically that the government having confirmed that potentially that's the shooter's social media account, and on there he posted Timcast clips as well as a post where he said this whatever he was writing was inspired by libs of TikTok.
Gotcha.
Replacement worldview. I think that is still under construction. But consider that when you see stories like this person was radicalized by Tim Pool and libs of TikTok to go shoot up a mall. And again, it's
on an Eastern European random social media website.
Thank you for throwing that in. I appreciate that. Thank you. I know I don't like saying it. And I know it's hard. And I know if you're in the older generation, this is hard to really accept. It's not easy for me to accept, again, as a kid who grew up in the "We're America, bitch" 80s. All these institutions are enemies of the United States.
He said, "We're America,
America
bitch 80s."
That's what I thought. He said it so fast that we're America, bitch 80s. Okay, good.
Well, the country formerly known as the United States. That country largely doesn't exist any longer.
Fucking move, then.
None of them are on your side. And it is rare that you'll even get a fair hearing. That just goes to the conversation we were just having a minute ago about the presidential race.
All right, we've heard enough of this, I think. So he heard from a guy in his ministry who has connections with the government. Ooh, that's 70% of the military is Marxist.
Not just the military, the FBI. 70% of the deep state is Marxist.
Yeah, and people want to exaggerate, I think, how novel this sort of thing is. But people were criticizing H.W. Bush, or the right was criticizing H.W. Bush this exact same way. Like he's sort of a globalist, cuck, basically. And we need the more the more white nationalists. And I'll just point out, it's not just Tim Pool who's implicated in this shooters thing, but it was actually one episode of Tim Pool, as far as I know, that this guy screenshotted, and it was multiple screenshots of the interview with Eliza Schaefer, who, in my understanding, used to work at The Blaze.
There you go.
So I guess but this guy's argument, which is very poorly presented because he's trying to dance around, saying something explicitly racist or anti-Semitic, is that there was a school shooting that people think is Nazis. But his friends think that, mall shooting where people think that where the guy had Nazi tattoos, but his friend in the military is happy that white nationalists or something are in the military, because in reality, Marxists in the FBI are in light allegiance with Tim Pool, who may or may not still be a leftist, and a Jewish woman who are actually somehow responsible for this mall shooting. It seems like the larger broad strokes of it. It was kind of confused.
That's exactly it. I couldn't really understand.
He's doing InPol and racism at the same time.
Right, there we go. He hit all of it. I mean, the idea, Chaya Raichik, probably still working with the left because the whole globalist thing. You know what I'm talking about?
it's just a real stretch because like calling Tim Pool a reformed or like, you know, I don't know, like Occupy Wall Street was so long ago, like 15 years at this point. Like,
yeah,
like,
people don't even remember that.
I know,
like,
but
yeah.
I mean, that's how he still is trying to sell himself.
Well, that's how he was sheep dipped as a leftist.
Yeah, which is a tale as old as time. Just talk about ask Dave Rubin. That might be why Tim is so triggered by our coverage of Dave Rubin and felt the need to point out how many videos we've done on this channel.
They should have
because it's just he wants that career path to be a little bit more like his.
I think a better sort of angle with the not, you know, you could keep the fact that it was the Marxist FBI and of course the anti-Semitism. You can keep that, but not the Tim Pool should have been corrupting this guy with his like emo devil music. That should have been the sort of like antiquated racism he relied on for, because we already have Marxists in the FBI. This is like, you know, rock and roll, Tim Pool, emo. His music is giving subliminal messages to like make people pretend to be Nazis.
Yeah.
To shoot up schools.
That's a good point. Or
malls.
Speaking of Chaya Raichik, I want to do this clip here too. This has been kind of one we haven't gotten to yet, but the hate monger Chaya Raichik behind the account Libs of TikTok spoke to the aforementioned Elijah Schaffer of BlazeTV, formerly. Elijah Schaffer, we thought at first he was fired for being too racist, but that was a little bit too optimistic. He was fired because of sexual harassment
issues going on with sexual
allegations.
Yeah, not looking good.
But Chaya Raichik, no problem talking to him. You know, I mean, her decision to show her face. Well, it was kind of. I mean, Matt Binder, like, was that how it happened, or did she end up getting discovered because she was at January 6th and then her face was out there, so she decided, what the hell? That's what happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't recall exactly the timeline, but people were finding out more about her and her details and who exactly she was. And then she, you know, some time went by, maybe a couple months, and then she decided to do some I think it was an interview with Tucker Carlson, actually, is when she unveiled what she looked like. And then shortly after, people found her out at, you know, her visually out at January 6th, like there in the flesh. I don't know if they had that beforehand and that's what pushed her to show herself, or if she just thought that her information was out there anyway. Enough time had died down that people weren't like actively looking for her anymore. So might as well just get ahead of it and just start making money on the right-wing talker circuit, because right after she got booked for like CPAC and all the shows, she was like doing the whole shebang.
Well, she's aggressively uncharismatic. I mean, this is not her calling, but the hatefulness certainly is.
Also very funny that I don't know if you guys noticed this. I think the first person who I saw mention it and make it's completely accurate was Alejandra Calabero. She pointed out that Libs of TikTok hadn't tweeted it for like a week or something, and then Seth Dillon, the owner of the Babylon Bee, tweeted out this super passive aggressive thing publicly, like, oh, I can't be the only person who noticed that Libs of TikTok hasn't tweeted in a while. I spoke to Haya and she said everything was okay. We all know this is not normal for her. I hope she's doing all right. And for those of you who don't know, Seth Dillon owns like her LLC, the Libs of TikTok LLC. Like he's the one who monetized it for her, and like he's making money off of her Libs of TikTok career. So clearly he was upset she wasn't tweeting while
chop.
Like,
yeah, not enough output. I mean, most
sell some merch.
Most editors would just
LGBTQ harassment quotas this quarter way down.
Yes, we have not had
those numbers.
Not enough threats against LGBTQ teachers across the country. Let's go. Let's keep doxing people.